Hello students, welcome back to the class once again. In the last class we have discussed about the dynamic nature of Indian politics. In the last class we have discussed about many points. What we have discussed that India after attaining independence in 1947, India have adopted various concepts. India is a sovereign state, socialist secular democratic republic. When you are opening the preamble of constitution, first India is a sovereign state. Sovereignty is nothing but the supreme power, the country which can take its decisions either internally or externally, that country can be called as sovereign country. On the other hand, second point, if you see that India is a socialist country, because our countries reduces our country try to reduce the gap among have and have not. Our country is a socialist country because our country cares for the people, welfare activities, different type of policies. The government will start mainly to uplift the weaker section of the people. Government starts many social benefits. So this all are nothing but these are the features of India is a socialist country, secular country. In our country, all the religions were treated equally. So India is a secular country. Democratic country means every person have right to vote. In our country we have written constitution. In the country we have parliament. In the country we have independent judiciary. These are the three important features of democracy. And we have seen republic in our country. If you see the heads, either president and prime minister is elected by the people either directly or indirectly. So we can say that India is a republic country. So children, already we have discussed that India have adopted the parliamentary form of government. So this concept which was mainly taken from the British constitution, and we have seen that India have accepted a mixed policy. Our economy is a mixed economy. It's a combination of both capitalism as well as socialism. So that economy is called as mixed economy. So India have accepted a concept of both socialism as well as capitalism. So that concept is called as mixed economy concept. Now I am going forward. So if you see, we are going forward, and then we have discussed that India have, in the last class, that India have attained green revolution. 1960s India have achieved the green revolution. Green revolution is nothing but increasing of food production is called as green revolution. So India have adopted the green revolution program in 1960. So that is one point. So mainly all these policies and programs, the government of India is mainly started to uplift the to elevate the poverty. Whatever the poverty is there, to elevate poverty and to improve the agriculture as well as industrial sectors in a high level. This is very, very important. And also we have seen that sometime our ruling government unable to fulfill the needs of the people. Whenever the needs are not fulfilled, then different types of movements are going to start, such as tribal movements. Different type of movements will start. One is tribal movements, I said, women movement, feminist, like that. One is tribal movements, I said. Next one, caste based movement. Different types of movements will be started, trade union movement, like that. So due to the arise of this movement, different leaders will form. From this movement only different leaders will form, and they can challenge the national leaders in the political parties. So because when these movements will start, when number of peoples will support the particular leader, so these alternative leaders will challenge the political leaders in the political parties. And sometimes if the needs are not satisfied, then dissatisfied youth peoples are attracted towards terrorism and extremism. That is why this is very important for the country to satisfy the needs from all the sections of the people. The problem is, if one needs are satisfied, suppose if two sections of the peoples are there, this is one section, and this is, if you see, one more sections of the people, this is the second section. If two sections of the people are there, if the government satisfied one need, then other sections are getting dissatisfied. If government is satisfying the needs of second section, then first sections are getting dissatisfied. Needs can be satisfied by only one needs can be satisfied, but if the government is fulfilling, for example, I will say best example, if the government is fulfilling the need of industries, if government is wanted to construct a dam, if the government wanted to construct a dam for the need of industries, so government is constructing dam. But on the other hand, tribal peoples are getting problem, because wherever the dams are constructing, it will take nearly huge amount of area. So if huge area will government will take, then what will happen? So one sections will get benefits, like industries will get benefits because after construction of dams electric will be generated and that will support industrial sectors, but the tribal sectors will suffer. So here what happen is, whenever the development activities are going on, one sections are getting benefits, particularly the people who lives in cities, they are getting benefits, but on the other sections who are living in hilly areas, tribal areas, they are facing a great problem. So needs can be satisfied, but this is quite common that if one needs are satisfied, remaining needs cannot. Now that's why this is the main reason that movements are going on, okay, different types of movements are going on. So the only one goal is to see that all the movements should be satisfied equally. Now if you see that global demands in globally all over the world, they have adapted the policy of liberalization policies and globalization policy. Liberalization policy means, already we have discussed in the earlier classes what is meant by liber. The word liber is originated from the Latin word liber, which means to set free from all type of restriction. Okay, the liber is originated from the Latin word which means to set free from all type of restriction, either the interference of government involvement should be very less. So India also accepted the policy of liberalization in 1991. So in 1991 we have taken the policy of liberalization. In this policy, involvement of government will be very less, and one more thing is, the country can able to, whatever the restrictions are there, restrictions on the industries completely will be removed. Now every local industries can able to buy the goods from other country, they can sell the goods from other country. That is meant by liberalization. Okay, before 1991, whenever our industries are there, Indian industries, when they wanted to sell their goods, they can't. If they wanted to buy the goods, they cannot buy the goods. Okay, they have to depend completely upon central government only. But now after this policy, what happened? Liberalization policy means all type of restrictions were removed. Okay, involvement of government will be very less. Okay, first point. Second point, local industries can able to buy the goods from other country. Okay, local industries can sell their goods to other country. And liberalization, one more mean is, big industries can able to come in India. Big companies like MNC companies can able to come in India. Before 1991, there were lot of restrictions for MNC companies to come to India. But after 1991, when the government have removed the policy of liberalization, different MNC companies can able to come easily. Okay, so liberalization means removing all type of restrictions, rules and regulations, barriers, trade barriers, income tax, or whatever the barriers are there, removing all form of barriers are called as liberalization policy. These policies were mainly favorable to industries. So liberalization policy is quite favorable for industries only. Next, globalization. Globalization meaning is what? What is meant by globalization? We have studied in the lower class also. Whenever the changes that occurs in the globe. Now this is a globe. So whatever the changes that occurs in the globe, in the field of social, economic and political. So whenever the changes that occurs in all over the globe in the field of social, society, economic, political, technology, that is called globalization. On the other hand, one more meaning is globalization, whenever the informations which are passes from one country to another country, and technology which are mainly spreading from one place to another place, information, knowledge, ideas, culture, that is also a part of globalization. So anything, the changes, why the changes has been occurred? Because of that movement, the movement of technology, when it is moving from one country to another country, because of information of, okay, because information and ideas, when they are moving to from one country to another country, then the changes will occur. When the ideas and information is moving from one country to another country, when the knowledge of culture is moving from one country to another country, then that is called as globalization. So globalization, what I said, the changes that occurs in the globe in the field of social, economic, political. I said overall field, social field in the sense society, culture, language, whenever that is getting changed all over the world, that is globalization. Okay. Second thing, best example, English language. English language has spreaded all over the world. So this is one point. Culture is spreading all over the world. So that is one point. Technology is also spreading all over the world. So this simple word, changes that occurs in the field of social, economic and political point, that is globalization. So here if you see that global demand adopted two important policy, one is liberalization and globalization. Liberalization means, I already said you, removing all type of restrictions on industries and barriers, state barriers is called liberalization. Globalization means whatever the changes that occurs in the all over the globe, that is called as globalization policy. Now global demand, what is the global demand of economic strategies greatly influenced the Indian government. Indian government was also greatly influenced. Okay, because of this liberalization and globalization, Indian government have greatly affected, and globalization have greatly affected India too also, liberalization have greatly affected India too. Now India have adopted a policy which is called as structural adjustment program. Structural adjustment program. So Indian government has started a policy. What is called that policy? Our name of policy is called as structural adjustment program. What is this policy saying? Structural adjustment program is an economic policy for developing countries that have being promoted. So this is an economic policies for developing country. So these policies are mainly started by developing countries like India. India is developing country. Okay, so many countries are developing countries. So this structural adjustment is an economic policy which are mainly followed by developing countries, and which has been promoted. This program was promoted to developing countries by World Bank of India and International Monetary Funds. Okay, International Monetary Fund in 1980. So this structural adjustment program was mainly designed by the World Bank, and it was designed by International Monetary Funds for developing country. That is only liberalization and following globalization. So World Bank and International Monetary Fund, they have designed one program which is called structural adjustment program. Just to adjust it, then the economic will take great development. First thing, allow the foreign countries to come to India, and remove all the trade barriers, restriction. So that is liberalization, globalization. That is only structural adjustment. Okay, so this policy was mainly started for developing country, and this was mainly promoted by the World Bank, and this was promoted by International Monetary Fund in 1980. This is. Now if you see what are the process for development facilitates entries into free trade, corporates and foreign direct investment. Children, what are the advantage for liberalization policy? When you remove all type of restrictions, when you remove all type of barriers on industries, then what will happen? First one, free trade. Before children, when there was no liberalization policy, we can't make free trade. Our farmers cannot sell their goods to other country. Our businessmen cannot sell their goods to other country. They can't buy the goods from other country. So lot of restrictions were there. Now because of this policy liberalization, now one country can able to make the trade with other country easily. Okay, easily, free trade, that is. Free trade is very, very important point. Second thing, corporate sectors will greatly develop, and third thing, FDI, foreign direct investment will increase. If you allow the foreign companies to come to India, what will happen? Our FDI will increase, our foreign exchange reserves will greatly increase. Today 1991 onwards, when we started this policy, India started developing. From 1990 onwards, when Indian government during the period P.V. Narasimha Rao, and during the time finance minister was Manmohan Singh, have accepted this policy, liberalization policy, which was given by the World Bank. So when they have adopted this policy, there was a great development. So foreign direct investment have greatly increased. Whatever the thing which India have not achieved in 50 years, just within this implementation of this policy, India reached to a great mark, great level. Okay, because of this policy, free market possible, corporate sector started developing, and foreign direct investment have greatly improved. Foreign direct reserves increased, foreign direct investment increased. Today if you see that in our country, lot of multinational companies are there in India, and they are very important because due to this foreign direct investment, taxes reserves also increases, employment opportunities will greatly increases. So this is one time, this is an assets for the country. Okay, this is a great assets for the country. Okay, next. Our dynamic of Indian politics, when you are talking, these are the dynamics of Indian politics. First one, coalition politics. We studied that 1967, due to the emergence of regional parties, coalition parties were also started developing. So this is one point. Coalition politics means, I said you, when two parties, when they wanted to form the government, when two parties will combine and they form the government, that is a coalition government. This coalition government will be formed only to get power, to obtain power. Second thing, emergence of regional force. As soon as the regional parties started emerging, 1967 to 7, during this period, regional parties started emerging at regional level, and they become very strong. 67 is a period, first time I said you, there are many regional parties, they came to power. Like for example, DMK party, Okay, that is a regional party, they came to power. Even Communist Party of India, that also they came to power in West Bengal. So these are the two regional parties, they become very popular. Evolution of caste, so different type of evolution, starting period of caste were also started, and due to the evolution of caste different movements were also started. Community based identity, okay, community based identity was also one of the dynamic principle of Indian politics, and development induced program also started. Development induced program means whenever for development, if you wanted to develop the society, we had to face some problems like displacement and corruptions. Okay, so these are the development induced program. Okay, this concept already you know that, for example, in Gujarat, here across the river Narmada, okay, Narmada river, the Sardar Sarovar dam, government wanted to construct this dam, so they have displaced the people. 5 lakhs of people were displaced because in this area they wanted to construct a dam. In this area they wanted to construct a dam, so they have to displace nearly 5 lakhs of people. When the 5 lakhs of people have to migrate, so this problem took place because of development only. So one development can cause great effect to other persons. For example, dams. Here the government what they have did, they started constructing a dam across this river, Narmada river. Now we know that this is Gujarat, this is Narmada river. Across Narmada river they wanted to construct a dam which is called as Sardar Sarovar Dam. Sardar Sarovar Dam. They wanted to construct this dam, but after when the dam was in constructing, the people started protesting, and 5 lakhs of people have to displaced because they need large area of forest. So sometimes the development induced problems can able to create displacement and corruptions also sometimes. So children, this is about the dynamic features of Indian politics. So this is the last point we have completed. Okay, so we have discussed many important things here. Okay, next class we will meet you in the next class with a new topic. Thank you very much.